Hello, sorry, it's Hel from Dawn Emporium. No, it's not, it's Hella from Dawn Emporium. And I'm going to tell you the story of Hel. There you go. That helps. I'll turn the dog's tea off. Right, you know I like telling stories about gods and old gods and things like that. So I thought I would, but you may have noticed in various posts that I mentioned that food is always a good thing, and I've noticed that all these food influencers and things, loads of them are American, so we're not getting many British dishes out there. However, in saying that, there's only a few that cook global dishes, and when they do, they seem stuck on a part of the globe. And they all have a thing for murder. I don't have a problem with murder things. In fact, I watch them all the time. So, like, yeah, that does make me sound quite bad if you're not into that subsection of the internet. But I thought, you know what? Let's put a spin on things and talk about old gods from around the world and eat food. And not only that, eat food from around the world and make it so that other people realise that eating isn't hard. Because these days, eating does seem to be getting harder. And ringing somebody up seems to be easy. So today, for people who don't have a clue about the difference, I'm going to be making something called a shepherd's pie, which means it's made with lamb mince. It can also be made with lamb chunks, but my son doesn't like chunky, chewy meat, so I make it with mince. And teaching you about, well, she isn't actually a goddess, she's a queen. I'll explain the difference in a minute. Hel from Viking mythology, because I think she gets a bit of a bad rap, especially these days. And it's not even, I can't even sit there and say, it's all Marvel's fault, because it's not. It is actually all Christianity's fault. Which again makes it look like I'm Christian bashing, and I actually am not, right? The best stories that we've got from it are Snorri Sturluson's Eddas, and he wrote those Eddas 300 years after his island, Iceland, became Christian, and he was such a good and well-known politician that he ended up dead in his wine cellar with a knife in his back. So you trust everything he says, right? Right? But people do. And so they get the Christianised version of things, and therefore Hel becomes this killer queen. She's literally like the John Wayne Gacy of gods. And I'm sitting there going, that wasn't the Hel that I grew up with. By the way, she's a single L, not a double L. There are rumours that the Christian Hel double L was named after the Viking Hel single L. And she was part of the reason why I did my Why Are We Afraid of Death thing. Well, death gods, because it actually annoys me that people are afraid these days, especially in Western countries and Western cultures, to worship a death god. Even if they follow the old ways and the old religions, they are sitting there afraid of death gods. What is that all about? Death gods don't do anything wrong. You're going to die. So just because somebody's a death god doesn't make them a bad person. And Hel is kind of misunderstood, hence me being here. Right, now before I get too into the story and miss out on actually telling you things, everything that I'm going to be using, nothing is going to be name brand when I write it all down, but you may notice names when I'm getting them out. It's going to be down in the descriptions for what is actually going in to my shepherd's pie. But while we're here and we're talking, as you may have noticed, I am cutting up potatoes. I'm sorry, by the way, I have a tiny, tiny kitchen. What you can see on camera is about half of my kitchen. It is microscopic. So I am trying here, and I am using my little island, which isn't high enough, but if it was any higher, it would be able to get into its hidey hole just there. So I'm cutting up potatoes, which are then going to go on to boil while I do the rest. As well as potatoes, now I'm using frozen mince today because I'm trying to do this so it's a quick, tasty meal for after work. This is frozen mince just out of a bag. This is lamb mince because it's shepherd's pie. If you use beef mince, I'll make a cottage pie, which is the beef version, at some point, and no doubt I'll make a Cumberland pie, which is the sausage version, at some point as well, because it is a nice hearty meal. However, they're not going to be back-to-back videos because, quite frankly, there's only so much mashed potato you can eat. I'm also using frozen mixed veg in this. Now, the reason being, like I say, I want to make it obvious that this is an easy meal to make for after work. Another thing that I'd like to say is, when you make the filling, you can make it, let it cool down, stick it in a bag or a box, hang on, up in the magic shelves, one of these kind of boxes, cover it properly, mark it up and freeze it, but do not put the mash on because mash does not freeze well. Really doesn't. We've tried it numerous times and failed, and it really isn't nice. So I suggest if you do it, you make the filling, you save the filling, and then what you do is you make the mash fresh and put the mash on as you're going to use it. That is the big thing I will say about shepherd's pie, cottage pie and Cumberland pie, which often gets overlooked, even over here in the UK, which actually kind of irks me because I really like my Cumberland sausages, I'm not going to lie. So, almost done with the potatoes. By the way, I do have 3 other major ingredients to go in. We'll get to them in a second. Just about finished my potatoes. In that pan, by the way, my massive great big pan, you'll see how big it is in a second. There's already hot water because my kettle's loud, and you'll hear how loud it is in a few minutes because it is going to have to go on again when I have to make the gravy. Right, so back to hell. Putting the mince in now to cook. Yes, I am cooking it in a wok. I do realise that, but that one just there is full of my dog's tea because they're also having mince, but theirs is dog mince. I haven't put any oil or fat in that because technically you don't actually need to. It just adds more fat, and I have to get the fat out of it anyway because no gallbladder. It's not nice. So, Hell, as a person, did not have the best start in life. She wasn't born. Right. Her mother is a Jotun called Angrboda, and her father is well-known Lothario and trickster Loki. Yes, the father-mother of the horse dude. And what happened was Angrboda was sitting there annoying the Aesir, who you normally think of when you think of Viking gods. And the thing is, people think Jotuns were Aesirs. The people like Frey and Freya, they think that they are Aesir when they're not. They're actually Jotuns, but that's another story for another day. So Angrboda was there annoying them, so they tried to kill her. So how they tried to kill her was quite simple. They tried to burn her to death. But she wasn't dying. So Loki came up with this awesome plan of burn her until they got down to her heart, which was as much as they could burn her to, and then she'd start building back up again like Wolverine, and then he'd eat her heart. Awesome, right? So they burn her down, she gets down to just being a heart. Awesome. Then he eats her heart, one bite. Out comes Jormungandr, or Jormungandr, it depends how you want to say it, the world serpent, in the ashes of his mother. Second bite, out of the fire jumps a wolf cub, Fenrir. Yes. Third bite, and the final bite, and there is a baby in the ashes of their mother, Angrboda. Yes, Hel. Hel had been born out of the ashes of her mother, the same as her two brothers. No, I'm not kidding you, that is the story. So, bit of a traumatic birth there for everyone. Now, stories diverge all over from this point on. I have literally never read two stories that are the same from this point on. However, I always believe in oral traditions, because you know what? Oral traditions can tell more truth than written traditions. And my oral story is actually quite nice. I quite like it. Sorry, I needed my water from the kettle. I forgot to fill it up before I came on. So, Hel was there, screeching baby, and they thought, oh no, what are we going to do? We've just created life out of the ashes of Angrboda. Loki, you'll know what to do because you do this all the time. You've got more kids than you know what to do with. You're getting on like Zeus's level here. So he's like, well, we'll bring her up here with us in the Aesir, even though she's obviously a Jotun. We'll bring her up. So, skip forward a few years. Hel is a typical Jotun. Blonde hair, blue eyes. I would like to point out that the Aesir, brown hair, brown eyes. Yes, I know, I have just completely ruined the whole, like, Marvel cinematic universe for you there. However, ice giants are going to have blonde hair and blue eyes because they live in the ice. Yeah, I know, if you have a look at every single ice culture going, like, you know, the Thule or the Inuit, they have brown hair and brown eyes and actually quite tan skin. However, no, not in Viking mythology. It was the Jotuns with the blonde hair and the blue eyes so they could hide in the snow. Yeah, stuff happened. So, there she was, blonde hair, blue eyes. Absolutely beautiful. She didn't come to the banqueting hall at night to feast with the others. It's a bit strange. What she did do though is she spent her days practising how to fight, mainly with her spear, with the god of war, Tyr. And the goddesses didn't like her. She was beautiful. She was a very good fighter. And there was just something about her. You know, jealousy is jealousy and all that. So what do you do when you don't like someone? And she was brought into this world via her mother's ashes. You try and burn her to death. Yes, that's what happened. It's a good job I didn't need that one. Everything's in there to burn the hot pot. So, all the women living, well, the good life, basically, turned around and decided to burn Hel because she was dangerous. She could fight, she had beauty, she had brains, she was quiet, she kept to herself, she wouldn't come drinking in the main hall. Anybody smelling jealousy. Now, this is the thing. Sitting there looking at it from the outside now, with like modern medicine and stuff, you sit there and go, wow, that could be like bipolar or Asperger's or something like that. But no, to them it was danger signs. By the way, in here I put broccoli, cauliflower and some Savoy cabbage because they're not in the mixed veg and you want some veg to go with it. So mix it up a bit. So they held her down and tried to burn her to death, which to me sounds like an awesome idea. Saucepan. How can you tell a saucepan from every other pan? Because it has a long handle so the steam doesn't get in your face. Yes, everybody thinks they're all called saucepans. They're not. Into this, some normal gravy. Now I do enough just to cover the bottom of the pan. I'm using a vegetable stock cube. This is because I'm going to put in some mint sauce. If you don't want to use, don't like mint sauce, don't have any mint sauce, try and put in a lamb stock cube just for extra flavour. However, because I'm using the mint sauce, I'm putting in vegetable. Right? Most people sit there and think that gravy and stock cubes shouldn't go together. I think you're mad and you like really, really plain gravy. So, you don't want to make too much gravy for the simple fact you don't want to flood everything and the rest of the water goes there. Oh, and if you have a tiny, tiny little burner, see how little that is? That one is literally for your saucepan. So when everyone is sitting there moaning that it's absolutely useless, that is because it is literally to keep hot liquids warm. That is all it is there for. Just 1 second and I'll be back. Go on. Hello again. Sorry, had to get some lids. Right. This little pan stays in the cupboard that you just can't see just there because, like I say, no gallbladder, can't do that. And lamb is very fatty meat. So, they decide, the goddesses, all the goddesses, even the goody two-shoes ones that everybody always loves and says how sweet and innocent they are, decide to burn hell, because that worked so well with their mother. So, I'm going to put that there for a second. And put the gravy in. It didn't work, strangely enough. Is anybody else shocked? I am. Utterly. Now with the veg. Now at this point, I'm going to put my oven on to just under 200 on a fan. The reason why I'm doing it like that is because everything will be cooked. I'm literally doing it just to crisp up the top of the mashed potatoes. So, they tie her down and burn her. Big teaspoon. Sometimes you might want to. I'm going for 1.5 actually, because you know what? I'm a rebel. She didn't die. Just like her mother, a Jotun, an ice giant, couldn't be killed by heat. Madness. So what were they going to do then? Throw a party? No, they kept on burning her. They kept on holding her down, trying to burn her, time and time and time again. And they just couldn't kill her. They couldn't even burn her down to her heart. This beautiful woman who was just a bit kooky, they just couldn't kill her. So, they stopped. I'm not even sure how or why they stopped trying to burn her, but they did. And they went rushing off to Odin, the All-Father, God of knowledge, and said, well, what are we meant to do now? We can't kill her. She's all scarred up and she's just not dying. So, the potatoes aren't cooking very well. Try not boiling now. So, there is hell in the right state. Half of her body is, well, depending on who you ask, some say she was the blue colour that dead bodies go. Some say she was a blackened, melted mess of somebody who had died in fire. Others say she was down to her skeleton on one half, and on the other half she was a beautiful Jotun. But either way, she was mad, like psychotically mad. Who wouldn't be? So, Odin had actually foreseen this, or something like this. And he was like, oh, well done girls, now you've done it. She is going to start Ragnarok. Now we have to find a way to appease her. That's great. So they had a spare planet. There's 9 worlds in the Viking religion, or mythos, depending on how you want to call it. And one of them, well, it was a bit of a sickly planet, quite low down. The higher the planet is, the better off it does, sort of. The lower down, the more sickly it is. And by this time, by the way, I never know how to say the world serpent's name, her brother, was circling the 9 worlds to keep them safe. So they decided to give her one of the lower planets as her home, Helheim. She's like, well, what am I supposed to do here then? Seriously, you've just disfigured me. You've turned me really nasty, because who wouldn't be, frankly? And Odin was like, well, I don't know what else to do. Because frankly, it wasn't me that did it. I told them that to do anything to you would be a bit of a bad plan. And they still went ahead and did it. Is there anything else that would make it better for you? I mean, in this planet, given your current state, you could be queen of disease. And she said, that's all right, but I want some healthy blood here too. Okay then, so how are we going to go about this? I want half of your war dead. What? They come to me. Now, I want half of the war dead. Because you're giving me all the diseased people. I need some healthy blood to help. I've got to farm this place. I've got to build homes. Diseased people can't do that. Now, here's the thing. Diseases back then were things, well, I'm full of them. Things like epilepsy is a disease. Things like multiple sclerosis is a disease. Things that are lifelong, life-limiting are diseases. So how is she supposed to build this magical new world with people who have died of lifelong, life-limiting diseases? Because speaking as somebody who has several of these, I can't go out gardening every day because, well, even today, my back is killing. I am going to be no good hunched over picking carrots. Sorry and all that. So Odin goes, you know what? You can have half of the war dead. You can have first picks, in fact. But the only problem is he knew that she would still start Ragnarok, which is the end of the world, worlds, the end of days. However, that's another story-ish that has to do with her father getting tied to a tree and being fed a serpent's poison. So, Hel now has her own planet, Helheim. Literally Hel's home. So if you're a human, you now have 3 afterlives and 1 hell, right? The afterlives are, if you die in battle and don't get chosen by Hel, you go to Valhalla, the great feasting hall, and meet up with Odin, have a bit of an ease up. If you die outside of battle from a short illness or just in your sleep, something like that, you go to Folkvang, which is basically fields and homes, and you just go to live as a farmer forevermore. And it sounds actually quite a nice place to go. However, someone like me, I will end up in the 3rd heaven, which is Helheim, where I will be surrounded by more of my diseased kin. Because we have all spent our lives being ill. We know how to care for each other. We know how to deal with being ill. We know how to deal with crop failures and things like that, because apparently in Helheim, things like carrot fly and potato blight are all par for the course. You're on a diseased world with a queen of disease. And every now and then, after a battle, half of the dead from that battle will come along, and there'll be fresh blood, and they'll be nice and fit and healthy. And they will be your your strength. You know, you need a new moot hall building, that's their job. You know, any skirmishes that need sorting in a physical manner, that's their job, because we're too weak to do it. And yeah, we're too weak to do it. So that's Helheim. And then the hell is actually to float in the darkness between the 9 worlds. That actually scares me, because everyone will end up going to Viking hell eventually, because at some point the world will end and our atoms will end up floating in the darkness between the worlds. Yeah, hopefully not next week. I've got plans. So, those are the 3 Viking heavens, and the Viking hell is not one of those 3. Now, so she is now a queen of death and disease. What is different between a queen and a god? Well, a queen and a king and a god or goddess. A god or goddess are one of the Aesir. So they are full-blood Aesir. A king or a queen are a Jotun. And it actually annoys me when people say things like Freya is a goddess. She's not, she's a queen. I'm sorry, but she's a queen. I hate to break it to you, but learn the difference between your queens and your goddesses. You know, Frigg, goddess, Freya, queen. Right? So, and I know loads of people are going to sit there and bash me, but seriously, where did you learn your history for this? Because, and how long have you been believing in this? Because I am coming up on 37 years old, and I had my first Viking story told to me when I was 11. So, only a few years ago, nothing major. And actually, in fairness, that was quite old for me to learn about a religion. Wait until I get into other religions. But what annoys me is in the past decade or so, it has been Christianised. And not only that, it has been glamorised as some form of Nazi religion because of the blonde hair and blue eyes thing. I'm a Viking because I have blonde hair, blue eyes and long hair. No, you're a Jotun, mate. I'm sorry, you're a Jotun. If you're sitting there saying that you're a Viking just because you've got blonde hair and blue eyes, that makes you a Jotun, not a Viking. Give me a DNA test and show me that you are physically actually related to Vikings, and I will call you a genetic Viking. However, when you are sitting there going, oh, I'm a Staru or whatever, because I look the part of a Jotun, and I say that, you know, we are the one true race, that really annoys me, because Vikings were traders all over the world, like all over the world. Even if we didn't make it, say, to China, we made it close enough to China that we were meeting up with Chinese merchants and swapping cultures and materials face to face with these people. And we weren't sitting there killing them, raping and pillaging them, because we're the one true race. That's not how being a merchant works, right? This isn't somebody releasing a porn movie with a Disney soundtrack here. That will get you slaughtered these days. Back then, it didn't happen. So, All that is people who are unhappy because they have a belief system that they think is letting them down, and they think because of the colour of somebody else's hair that they are going to be more welcome amongst us with their racist views. And I'm sorry, I don't actually know that many racist people who are long term, longer than a decade, Vikes. If anything, we spend most of our time going around being allies to everyone for every reason. And that's another thing that I absolutely love with the new bloods, is homophobia, transphobia and all that jazz. Do you know how many genders we had? Seriously. Do you know our sexual orientations? Do you? Because I think we were only technically beaten by, in that age range, in that time range of history, by the indigenous Americans out of the big races, because they had two spirits. However, we had gay, we had lesbian, and we did sort of have a two-spirit, but it wasn't a two-spirit because it was just like, you're a lesbian who dresses like a man, and what? That was it. We didn't have a name for it. It just happened. You know, you're a bit masculine and you've got a missus. You're a bit feminine and you've got a fella. So to me, you're just gay, right? That's how the Viking split happened. And if you were born, one of the surprisingly large number, actually, you were born with both genders, bits, you were you got to choose who you were. Unlike these days, where usually before you make it to 18 months old, your parents and your doctors have decided who you are and given you operations you don't want or need. This is why I get so het up over seemingly silly things, because to me, I am sitting there going, why are people doing this? You shouldn't be doing this. This is inhumane. I'm really falling out with these potatoes, you know. They should be soft enough to get crushed with my bamboo spoon, and they're not. You can go on now. Just put one low. So, it would have been really cool to find out if we did have something like a two spirit, what it would have been called. And I'm saying it because it is a title, as in two spirit is a title, as opposed to they as people, because they are just people. And the title is a box that we put someone in. Like, these days I am a masculine cisgendered pan woman, you know, with a husband and kids and a motorbike, which really does not help with the femininity, does it? Yeah, I am a woman, honest, on the weekends, and I only wear makeup for special occasions and when I'm shooting videos. Totes female. See, that's a bit loose. I think that's going to come through my mashed potato. Oops. I'm going to have to start moving stuff around here. You see, this is the problem of having such a small kitchen. This is why I haven't done this before. I'll be back in 2, literally. 1, 2. Now, my husband is lactose intolerant, so lactose-free stuff. However, what I will say is in mashed potato, it's absolutely fine, but in white sauces, you have to watch out and not use olive oil in them because it tends to make them look like baby vomit. Just a hint there. It tastes fine, it looks awful, honestly. So come on, one of you. I feel like all I'm doing at the moment is having a spa. Anybody ever had potatoes like that? So, hell, she will allegedly bring around Ragnarok, so Odin said. However, we're all still here. And then again, lots of people are supposed to bring about the end of the world. Now, I got the nickname Hela because Hel is the queen of death and disease, and I've had more than my fair share of close calls with death and have quite a few diseases. I could fill quite a hefty medical book myself. So my friends started calling me Hel just to take the mick. Only I thought that was kind of disrespectful, sitting there going around by a queen's name. So I turned around and said, can't we just like change it, just a smidge? So we went for Hela, which means named in honour of Hel. Because my actual name is Stephanie, and we'll get onto that in the racism video, but the thing is I have done 5 of them so far, and every single time I get that het up that I just can't post them. So at some point you will find out about my problems with racism throughout the years. You'd think I wouldn't have any, right? I just love it. You'll see why I'm such an ally. Because I'm not just an ally. It's just funny, horrendous, honestly. So everyone just started calling me Hela, and you know what? It makes you defensive when you're known as by nickname by the Queen of Death and Disease's name, and she gets such a bad rep. And then when Marvel came out with Hela for, well, they'd already come out with her in comic book form, but nobody actually realised. So when she came out in film form and people realised she existed, everyone was suddenly sitting there dissing her again and how evil she was again. And I'm sitting there going, what has she done? She was abused and tortured and had attempted murder done on her, and all she wanted was a quiet life. And yeah, she is going to bring around Ragnarok, allegedly, as are several other different gods from different religions and prophets. The amount of those that are allegedly going to bring around the end of days is just horrendous, frankly. So wouldn't you be a little bit narky if that was your life story? You literally got born by your mother's heart getting eaten and you magically turned up into some flames. Your brother Fenrir got chained to an island because he grew too big to take for a walk. Your brother Jormungandr got set loose in space to protect 9 worlds, which that sounds very cold in a very physical and heartless type sense. Loads of women got together to kill you via burning you and failed. You went from being quite beautiful in a Jotun sort of way to being a half corpse, which is always fun. I have to say, it's top of my things to do, is walking around looking like a half corpse. I'm sure most women love that one. That's why most women spend their entire life on diets, wearing makeup and just torturing themselves just so that they don't look like a half corpse. And then people wonder why she's a little bit narky. And maybe, just maybe, it's finally done. Might bring around the end of the world. Knew it. There's always one handle on this one that's hard. And then there are rumours, I don't know how true they were because I wasn't alive then, the Christians named their hell double L after you, single L, because you're such an evil, evil person. Evil. What have you done? You existed, you were abused, and the whole reason why you're going to bring around the end of the world is because you're going to be protecting your absolutely useless father, who's never actually done anything for you, from dying. But then again, I suppose if you are from a single parent family, you are going to be protective of the one parental figure that you have left, even if he is useless. Hey Loki. Sorry, if I keep stopping suddenly, it's because my little trolley here is 10 years old, desperately needs replacing, and is a little bit wobbly to be making mash on, but I don't really have much choice. But I've been desperate to try this out for ages. One of my friends was on about the fact that I should do like cooking videos ages ago. By the way, hi Stephen. And lots of my friends love my cooking. I suppose we've all got to have an addiction. And I am a bit of a talker, as you may have noticed. So, just mix it all together. That's the basic premise. Because not talking is boring, especially when you don't have anything to speed up time with. You can go up a bit now. And so you've either got to be here in real time, or I've got to find my little clicker thing to start and stop recording. I need to find my little clicker thing to start and stop recording anyway, to be fair. I'm sure you're pretty fed up already in this video of seeing my ugly mug coming up because I've forgotten the lids, or I need milk. Yeah, I need to find my clicker. But yeah, so people at the moment, I don't work, freely admit it. Stomach is just that bad, can't do it. But when I was working, people were sitting there getting jealous over the fact that, how are you at work and you're still managing really nice meals? And I do sound really whinchy there, but I'm sitting here thinking, how are you at work and not managing really nice meals? Because they are really quite easy. I'm 50 minutes in, and the reason why it's taken so long is because I fell out with the potatoes. And you have been here since about 4 potatoes in. I think I've done just too few potatoes. I should have done a few more potatoes. Oops. And I've told you the story. One of many stories. Some get really, really defensive about hell. I think it's funny. I've told you the story of a goddess. Well, she's not actually a goddess, she's a queen. I told you how to make this. Now, this is going in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes. That can get turned down again. And while that's doing that, I am going to pause the video and then I'll show you it when it's all done. Because I don't think I can talk to you for another 10 to 15 minutes without you all wanting to snap my neck, which isn't very fun really, is it? But yeah, so you've learned a little bit about one of the many, many, many stories of hell and how Helheim came to be. And there are lots and lots of stories. Like I say, lots of people really don't like her. She has a bit of a bad rep. But that is just because people are afraid of Helheim, well, not Helheim, of Ragnarok. And the fact that hell is a bad word. No, hell isn't a bad word. It's a name. And, well, with one L, it's a bad name. No, with one L, it's a name. With two, it's a bad word. And I don't get why people are so afraid of her. Because seriously, I live in a country where we have, yeah, how would be the best way to put it? A scary government in charge. But nobody's afraid of the word government. You know? But everybody's afraid of a Viking queen and how she's going to end the world. Well, 9 worlds. And I'm sitting there, honestly, going, it's been like, I don't know, 1,000 years since she was last widely doing anything. Surely she'd have found time in her diary in the past 1,000 years to sort out Ragnarok and end the world if she was going to do it. So can people please stop knocking her just for a second and think about all the abuse that she had to deal with, because it isn't nice, you know? I'm pretty sure nobody wants to be in that position. Just saying. Back in a minute. Hello again. So 15 minutes later, and that's what we have. It doesn't look very colourful because it's mainly green veg, greeny white. But there you go. There is your, I've totally forgotten the name, shepherd's pie. I was going to say cottage pie and then my brain was like, no, it's not. So there's your shepherd's pie and veg, and it's taken me less than an hour, even though I've been like gnawing your ear off, plus the like 15 minutes that you didn't see while it was in the oven. So, and that's from start to finish. It doesn't usually take that long, but like I say, I was falling out with the potatoes, probably because I didn't have the lid on for about the first 10 minutes. My bad. Have fun. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Know your power. Bye.